What's up, Jim?
Morning, buddy. How's it going?
It's going well. You?
No complaints. Happy
Yeah.
to be out in the shop.
Nice late start this week for this. It's the 23rd on Wednesday. So still kind of early morning, 8:40ish.
Almost
So,
noon here.
yeah.
But it's been a busy week. Been a busy week for both of us. Getting out here seems to have just proven to be difficult. And usually we're a Monday recording type of crew here, but I guess we're doing Wednesday today.
Yeah, it's all good though. Minimal editing and stuff, so it uploads easy. So, I figured probably just jump right into it. I know you kind of had a slow week in the shop last week. We're not slow, but
I was
kind of
out of
minimum
town.
time, right?
Out of town Wednesday afternoon through Sunday afternoon, Sunday night actually. So I obviously didn't do anything in the shop, and then Monday I was out doing deer stuff all day, so I didn't set foot in here, which was great to get outside. It's pouring rain right now, so we got a bunch of things planted. So within a couple of days of that, it's always nice to get a bunch of rain, just like exactly what you're looking for. And then actually yesterday I went out and I did some more deer stuff in the morning. A buddy of mine kind of have a side business, where we do land management for other hunting type people that are looking to have land cleared or food plots created, either whether big or small, and seeding and rototilling and all that too. So we had a consultation yesterday morning with a guy about a half an hour from here, and then did a little bit more deer work. And then I came home around noon and came out here and tied up some odds and ends that I had, some spa stuff for some people, but I didn't even turn the machines on. So and then this morning I haven't been to the dentist in 5 years. I just stopped going for some reason. And so I went a month ago and they were like, yeah, okay. It took them 3 months to get me in, and they looked at my stuff like, hey, yeah, no cavities or anything. You're good, surprisingly. But I just had my big cleaning. It took almost 3 hours of them just in there picking at stuff and all that. So I'm just now finally getting settled in for the day. It's almost noon, which is not a great track record, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I spend way too much time at the dentist. I'm almost out. I'm almost done with my braces. I've had them for almost 3 years.
I didn't even notice that you had braces.
Yeah. So, yeah, my teeth were super crowded. Yeah, I've had.
What was it like having adult braces? I've never
was fine.
Anybody that actually had them.
It was fine. I got really good insurance when I worked at Yamazen, so I jumped in on all that stuff and took advantage of everything. Had a couple cavities filled, and then got the braces, and that was in 2020. I think, yeah, sometime in 2020, and it's wild. So I had my wisdom teeth pulled 4 or 5 years ago, all 4 of them, and then I had 4 premolars pulled too because my teeth are so crowded. So
wow.
eight total pulled, and then they're dead straight now. So I should actually be getting them off hopefully just a few days before the show.
Dude, are you excited
for that? That would work out pretty cool. Yeah, it's wild.
Was there any out of pocket for that, or did Yamazen's insurance cover all of it?
Well, I left there before it was done. So once that insurance was over, I transferred some of my insurance from the other shop that I worked at. But then once I left there, I stayed on medical insurance, but all my other stuff was dead. So I paid out of pocket basically the rest of it, which wasn't too bad. It wasn't much left.
Nice, man. So then you're just retainer bound for the rest of your adult life to keep them in position, or what?
Pretty much, yeah.
Nice. So, I had braces back when I was in grade school, but I have serious snaggle teeth now.
Yeah.
But I mean,
whatever. So
yeah, I actually have all 4 of my wisdom teeth still. They were like, do you want to have those removed? And I'm like, do I need to? And they're like, well, no. I'm like, then why would I want to get them removed? Everybody that ever had their wisdom teeth done is like, that sucked.
Yeah,
I'm good on that.
Yeah,
did you have all 8 taken out at the same time?
They did all 4 wisdom teeth at the same time, and I went under for that. And then when they did my premolars, I'm like, fuck it, just take them out. So I stayed awake, but it was 16 shots, in the roof of the mouth, and it was nasty. Yeah, it sucked.
Dude, I would for sure have had them put me out again. For sure.
It was way too expensive.
Crazy.
So they're like, yeah, we're going to do 2 on one side and then do 2 on the other side. I'm like, either it's going to suck and I wish I had it all done and I was going to just be done with it, or it's going to be easy and I wish it was done. So I'm like, just do them all. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, just do it. And I literally walked out, no swelling. It was totally fine. So gauze for a couple of days.
Wild.
That was it. Yeah, it was wild.
Cool, man. Well, congratulations on your orthodontic journey ending in a couple of weeks. But
thanks.
Yeah. Speaking about the show, I really haven't talked to you since I went out of town last week. It's been pretty much a week. What have you been up to the last week? Last I talked to you, you had finished manufacturing your blade fixture. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where I left off. So did you get a chance to process any of the blanks?
So I finished up the fixture. that we were talking about, we showed some infusion last episode. I finished machining all of it. So anybody that hasn't seen it, there's a bunch of pictures on Instagram. I dug out my Nikon and I've been trying to take some nice photos and stuff. So I've been kind of digging into photography stuff again and relearning how to shoot. Yeah, so this is all done. It's ready to go. First stop is going to go here, just rectangle material with 3 Mighty Bite clamps, and that'll hold just a rectangle bar just to process the holes. My baby just woke up, so hopefully we can't hear him crying. And then from there it goes on to here, holds on to 2 holes, and then 2 holes, and then sides. So it does the primaries on the sides, and those are all angled, if you can see that. But anyways, yeah, this fixture is done. I haven't had a chance to actually run any blades on here. So during heat treat, I kind of want to dive into some of this stuff today, like Magna Cut. This stuff definitely grows during heat treat that I've noticed. So everything is dead flat. Surface grinding is beautiful. Everything that I could inspect on them was perfect. But the size did grow. So hole to hole location. And last episode too, I was talking about, I think I'm probably going to have to slot these moving forward. And sure enough, once I finished the fixture, they didn't fit because the hole to hole spacing had grew. So I ended up making some soft jaws, put the blades in the soft jaws, and I slotted the front pivot just in line with the front tab hole in line with the pivot. So any type of growth or anything moving forward, that is already going to be slotted.
So it'll still be positionally accurate in X, and you can just, if it needs, adjust that Y hole position without losing any of the other positional stuff that you had machined.
Yeah, so this third one really is just a tertiary position there. So it's rotation around the pivot hole. So the primary is down on the face, secondary being the pivot hole. So that's handling all XY translation. The face is handling all of the rotation around X and Y. And then the only thing that's now constraining in the 6th degree of freedom is going to be the tertiary here, which is rotation around Z. So that's it. As long as that's slotted in line with the pivot, any length on it isn't going to affect the actual rotation position of it. So
yep.
So that worked out really well. These are ready to go pretty much. A couple weeks ago, or maybe probably closer to a month, I picked up material for new inlays because all the inlays that I made for slingshots, when I sent them out for anodized, all of them etched, like pitted. They look like concrete. There were holes all through them. So I think what happened was when I tumbled them in my tumbler, I left them in there. I tumbled it like all day. I'm like, oh, I want to have real soft, real rolled over and uniform. And then it got late and I'm like, oh, I'm going to leave them in there. And then tomorrow I'll pull them out. I'll run it for like another half hour, get them all clean, and then I'll pull them out. But sitting in the tumbler with how hard the water is here, our water etched the crap out of them. And then when they went to anodize, and they etched them, all of the acid and everything and all the processing just ripped all the soft stuff out. So it basically scrapped 210 inlays that I had. I had a few that I held back that weren't going to get anodized. I was just going to blast them or tumble them or do something here for them. So I ran through all the slingshots that I had sold previously from this run, went with all those. But now I'm out of inlays and I want to bring slingshots with me to the show. So I figure I want to just run through. I have maybe 100 or so done already of the inlays, and running these. I started running them on Friday. I ran a little bit on Saturday, and then I didn't get out here really at all yesterday. I was out here for a couple hours on Monday. This week's been kind of hectic here, so just with the kids and the storm that came, the school was shut down on Monday because they were worried that the hurricane was going to be too bad, but it was literally just light rain and a little bit of wind. It was nothing major. So Hudson was here all day.
Did it cause any damage anywhere, or was it completely?
Not here, not anywhere around here. I think Palm Springs got it pretty bad. Like high desert area got it. So they're not used to that water really at all. But overall, it seemed to be pretty chill, at least in where we're at in Orange County. So, yeah, getting kind of a late start on really everything this week, podcast, shop, and all that. So I'm trying to run out all of the material for these over the next day or so, 2 days, so I can get them to anodize. And then because they'll be at anodize for a week or 2 weeks or whatever. By the time I get those back, then I can assemble them, and then I can bring a bunch of slingshots with me too. So I ended up burnishing a few of them. This burnish finish looks awesome.
Nice. How do you do that?
I have some burnishing compound that I got from Clayton. years ago. He was out here for a dirt bike race and he brought some stuff out with him in the van. And
shout out to MX Pimp, dude.
Yeah, dude. 2016 or 17 is when he came out with that stuff at the shop. And then so I threw it in my small tumbler just for doing like blades or little parts like this. I don't have enough to fill up my big tumbler. So just trying to knock those out. I did that over the past couple days. I got a bunch more slides to do. So I'm starting to stress a little bit. Like I mean,
got 3 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The show's on the 17th, flying out the 16th, which means the very latest I have is the 15th, really. So it cuts off a couple extra days that I was like originally thinking, oh, I got till the 17th. I don't. Nobody does. So yeah, I got like 3 weeks.
I haven't started anything yet. So
yeah,
I proved out the last time when I was prepping for Portland. I started my stuff on July 8th. Yeah, I started my stuff on July 8th, and I was ready to go on the 27th when I left. And that was with me having to completely program, design, manufacture all the fixturing for the subliner 3.2, and then prove out all of the assembly and component changes. So since I don't have to do any of that now, I believe that I should be able to shave some time off. Because I definitely, like, when I'm prototyping something, I don't know if you're this way, I do not rush at all. I take as much time as I need. Like, if one machine is sitting while I'm prototyping, whatever the case may be, I am just dedicated to that process, trying to pick up on every nuance so that if I do have an issue, I can try and backtrack and figure out where it was instead of, like, being flustered and making stupid mistakes. And so I know that I burned at least 2, maybe even 3 days, just like with ancillary stuff with regard to that. So I think I should be good there. I'm also not bringing as much Damascus stuff as I did to Portland. Like, I think I brought 3 Damascus blades. I'm only bringing, I think, 1 or 2. I'm finalizing that today. And I'm also, I guess it doesn't really, I'm just bringing more titanium plain stuff. It just feels like this is the kind of show where that's mostly what's going to be there, and I kind of want to fit the vibe. I'm going to have a few carbon fiber pieces, and then I think I'm going to have 3 titanium subliners, and then I'm going to have like just 1 dark tie framed. The Damascus that I made with my buddy, the stainless Damascus I made with him, I think that's going to be my 1 auction piece. So I'm trying not to put too many eggs in one basket with regard to the Damascus we made, just because I don't know, when I heat treat it, what if it cracks? You know what I mean? Or like there's so many things that like I'm uncertain of, that like to base my entire lineup on that blade wise just seems like a mistake. So I want to take baby steps with that. I'm probably just going to make some extra MagnaCut. I have like 17 MagnaCut blanks here that I just got back from Double Disc. So I'm probably just going to push some extra ones of those through, just to make sure that if I do have issues, that I at least have blades ready to go so that I can throw them in without having to like go back to square one. Because I mean, as you know, blades take longer than anything when you're trying to figure out heat treating and preheat machining and heat treating and surface grinding and then hard milling and then final hand grinding. You know, just a lot goes into it. So yeah, I mean, you're definitely in crunch mode. I mean, thankfully you have, like, for the blades, the manufacturing time is going to be pretty negligible. Like, I imagine you'll probably be sub 20 minutes a piece. So I always factor in, like, hey, that's a day, you know, maybe 2 days if you're including programming. And then, I mean, frames are probably going to be your biggest thing, but not having to sit down and make backspacers. Not that that's a big deal. Like, yeah, but that's a day. Designing jaws, 2 ops, you know what I mean? Like a day and a half, even if the parts only take 10 minutes to cut. And then your pocket clips op 1s are done. Shoot, that's the long op. Top op is what deck and chamfer pretty much.
Exactly.
So pretty much, and so if you can get your frames done, if you take a week to get your frames done, you still have 10 days to do, or 2 weeks to do everything else. And in reality, each of those might only be a day or 2. So you should have plenty of time as long as you stay on task. I'd kind of told myself that I wanted to try and be done a few days in advance this year, or this show. I wanted the same thing for Portland, and I ended up working on knives until the day before I left. So I really try not to give myself to the last day. You know, I really like to try and be done a few days in advance, so you have a little bit of a buffer.
Totally. Yeah, I'm sweating, like sharpening, setting detents, that stuff. I'm gonna machine the lock faces. I'm just gonna do them in the mill because I'm doing the inset lock. So I don't want to grind the blade lock face. Uh, I'm thinking about doing a slight radius on it, like a radial lock face. So I'm gonna do that just with the 1/8 inch ball and mill that's gonna be in there anyways. It's gonna be real steep at that angle anyway, so it should be nice with the ball. So I'm going to surface that, and then at the same time I finish the stop pin track and then do the D10 hole and the profile. So all of that stuff, I want to basically be able to just take a blade off the mill, do whatever finish work to it, blasting, tumbling, whatever, and sharpen and put it in. And then the inset locks, they're so thin and it doesn't use a lot of material. They're kind of long, but it's not a lot of material, and I don't think cycle time is going to be that long. So if anything, if I have too much lock engagement, whatever, I can just make another inset lock bar just a little bit longer. So that's a plan for that, and then I can always shift the detent ball around a little bit if I need to.
Have you considered for your lock face, like, are you just going to cut them all to a known length or a known size, and then have varying lengths of lock bars to tune the lock position? Or like, will you set the blades back up and remachine them? Like, if the engagement isn't what you like, have you given any thought to that?
I think if the engagement is too early, then I'm probably just going to grind the lock bar.
Just kiss the face, take a thou or two off of there.
Just kiss the face of it, either stone it or hit it on the grinder if it needs to remove a lot of material. But I'm hoping that it's going to be consistent enough, because I'm going to do the pivot hole, which is the back hole like we talked about. That's going to handle all of the location. Basically the location that's handling the actual engagement amount into the blade. So I'm going to do the face and that hole at the same time. And that should handle all of that positional accuracy. I think as long as I measure the overall length or measure the width or something, that as long as the comp styled on that tool, I think it should be fine.
Yeah, I think the only thing you're going to experience with that, just because that rock, MagnaCut being 63, 64 Rockwell, it's probably just tool wear.
For sure.
And it wears at a rate that, like, where you're used to making in titanium a 1/10 adjustment diametrically, like every 3 parts. If you're cutting a critical, like, it could be several tenths or a half, even if that tool starts to break down.
For sure.
So I mean, that's something, obviously, if you're roughing it within the thousandths and then just finishing it with that ball mill, I'm sure you'll be fine.
But yeah, I'm gonna try and implement some probing in there too, to where I can go probe that face and see how it measures, to the nominal. So sure. I really need to implement a little bit more of that. I need to order a 3mm probe tip soon, because mine's a 6mm on here, so I can't even get it into pivot holes and stuff.
Dude, I know. I need one for that stuff. I need one for that reason too. Like, even when I'm doing, this is simple and it's stupid, but a lot of the times when I'm finishing pivot holes, like, I'll put my magnetic squaring block, my small squaring block in my vise, and I'll just put the blank down, indicate it flat and indicate the rail straight. And then I just sweep that pivot hole and then machine the pivot hole. And, like, if I'm doing 30 blades, it's so annoying having to, like, pull the indicator out and go to the location and sweep that pivot hole in every time. Like, it literally takes 2 minutes, but on 30 blades, like, for a 2-minute cycle time or less, it just feels like that thing is in and out. And I'm like, I need to dial in this small 3mm probe tip so that I can just probe this fucking hole, because this is driving me crazy and I never do it. I don't know why. I've
had one in just on the QMark website, been up in a tab for like the last week. I need to just do it. I had to do that. I don't really know.
Sorry, go ahead.
I had to do that on these blades to cut the tab, that slot. So I put them I just cut soft jaws to hold the profile, and then I had it go to XY0 position, G54 X0Y0, and then load up a blank tool holder spot. So basically just called it tool 1, which is empty. And then I would manually load the indicator, hit reset, jog it down, indicate it, reset the origin, and then jog it up, take it out, and then cycle start. And then we'll go to the next tool and it would run.
100%. I mean, you can see my indicator sits right there. And it's just,
yeah, mine's, if you could see it, well, I think you can, because it's this is cropping out on here, but yeah, basically mine's right up top. Yeah,
there she be,
somewhere up there. Yeah. So Yeah, it sucks. I definitely need to just do that, but I'm like trying to save as much as I can for the show right now and make
Hell
sure
yeah.
I bought my
Do you
flight. I got my room. I got everything like ready to go. I'm committed. So,
Nice,
and my
man. You
bad.
got to
We
get it
just got
done.
the
Then you'll
email
be
today for, yeah,
Did we get an
badges are on
email
the way.
today?
Yeah, the
Oh
badges are
shit,
getting shipped out.
I didn't respond about how many I needed.
Oh yeah.
Oops.
Is anybody going
Probably
with you?
should. My wife is gonna come with me.
Nice.
Dang, I forgot to get back to him about that.
Yeah, there's probably time.
It'll be all right.
You can't go now, dude. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, you texted me and said, "Hey, I bought my flights and I booked my hotel room," and then Joe texted me a picture of his flight too.
Yeah.
Like,
So
oh, you're going with him? So
yeah, I hit him up. I'm like, hey, dude, the $89 a night on the website through Oz's website with that deal, and I said they got one king or they got two queens. You know, are you coming or not? And he's like, I'm 80%. I said, well, I just bought a room with 2 beds. Like, you're coming. So he's like, all right, let me see what I got for points for flights. And I sent him my flight numbers, and he ended up getting on the same flight. So
he works the game too. He's that
yeah,
works the air miles credit card shit to get all
Mhm.
kinds of points and stuff like that. I need to get better about that. I don't ever.
Yeah, I
do
want to be
anything
like Joe
that.
when I grow up.
I know he's
For
like the
sure.
ultimate adult, dude.
Mhm.
I've always
Trying to
said
get him
that.
to
He's
adopt me,
always
but
seems like he wanted to. We're too heathenish. His kids are way better than us.
yeah. So
But yeah, so
cool.
I was stoked to see him. I haven't seen him since. I mean, probably since I came out to visit you in 2016. You know, I
Probably, huh?
talk to him all the time, but like just coast to coast is tough.
Yeah,
But
it's rough.
so you guys
Where
are
we
flying in? You're flying in on Friday or Saturday?
Saturday. So
Okay.
flight out of here is at like 6:45 in the morning, local Santa Ana Airport. So we're gonna fly out of here, and then we have a layover in Phoenix for about an hour, and then Phoenix straight into Indy, and then same thing on the way back. So we're flying out Saturday morning, and then getting in like around 3:45 or so in Indy, and then on the way back we're flying out Monday at like 6:30 p.m. I think. So we have most of
Oh,
Monday to kind of
nice.
hang and hopefully people are still going to be around. Maybe go grab breakfast or lunch or something with everybody and
Yeah, I'm
try
sure.
and hang
I'm
a
sure
little bit.
we could probably get with you too.
Yeah,
Obviously with the show being on Sunday, we're gonna stay over and we'll be heading out Monday morning sometime. And it's only a 5-hour drive for me, so
nice.
pretty much can leave whenever. The kids will be back in school, so I just need to be back before they get out of school, which is 3 o'clock, or they get home at 3:45. So I mean, as long as we leave by 11 o'clock or 10:30, we should be good.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Yeah,
But
Steingraber's driving out too. I think he's got like a 6-hour drive.
yeah,
I was asking him, what's that?
I must say he's probably a little further than that, I'd imagine, because he's where in Rochester.
Somewhere around there. I think I was talking to him yesterday. I think he said it's about 6 hours.
Huh, maybe it's shorter for me than I thought then, because he's
Maybe.
Rochester's 2.5 hours further east of me.
Oh yeah.
So maybe I'm only 3.5 or 4. Either way, yeah, that's cool. He seems like he's kicking butt. Got a lot of stuff in the pipe.
Yeah, he's doing really well. He's bringing a lot of stuff. Yeah, I was talking to him about how he's going to bring everything. That's kind of some stuff I wanted to talk to you about too. Like what else are you bringing besides product?
Sure.
And like, how are you going to take payment and stuff too? Like, how does that normally work there? Because I don't know how many knives I'm going to bring. Like, I have enough for 15, but if I only end up bringing like a few of them for whatever reason, if time or scrap or something, if I only bring a few, then maybe I'll just lotto all of them. I don't want to have first come first serve for like the first 5 people, you know?
Yeah, I would probably, if you had say you brought 5, we could do 1 or 2 first come first serve maybe, and then 3 lottos. But you kind of can read the room too. You're gonna look at how, I'm assuming that a lot of these other guys are gonna be all first come first serve, because I mean, if you have 20 or 30 or 40 or 100 knives, you're not lottoing shit. It's just come by.
Exactly. It's going to be too much work, I feel like, to lotto that much.
I mean, for as far as payment goes, obviously for shows, cash is king. None of us want to report this income. That's you just want to have some play money that you make at the shows. That's the incentive of giving yourself a little bit of a tax break. Uncle Sam's coming after me now. I can hear him knocking at my door. But I have done PayPal, friends and family. I honestly, with somebody picking an item up at the show, right now, my number one would be Zelle. Just a straight wire transfer, because you're not paying any fees then at all. You could do Cash App, or you could do Venmo. I prefer those things over PayPal just because PayPal, they can be so fickle, but
Yeah, every time I get a payment through PayPal, it's a problem. Seems
yeah, I
like
mean,
it's always
they're
on hold
holding
for whatever
they're
reason.
holding
Or
your money and like,
Mhm.
yeah. So I try and avoid PayPal. Of course, in Portland, I ended up taking like 2 or 3 PayPal payments that were on hold for like 21 fucking days. Like I just got paid
It's
for them
brutal.
recently and shit like that. So, but yeah, I would
Yeah.
for sure say if they have, I think most people understand that they're coming to the show to buy stuff, like they're going to be bringing cash. Especially because a lot of these knives at the show like are like in that, you're not going to see a lot of $1,800 to $3,000 knives at this show. I don't think like you're going to see a lot of knives in that like 600 to 1,000 range.
Mhm.
And so you're probably going to see a lot of people that are prepared to spend cash. And a lot of guys will say like, I mean, I can do cash, but could you do electronic? Like, you just got to think about what's right for you. Like, you as the seller,
Yeah,
for sure, reserve the right to be like, cash only, please.
for sure.
And so as far as other things I'm bringing, I mean, I'm going to bring a banner for the table. I'm going to bring stickers. I may or may not bring T-shirts. My cousin has been doing my screen printing stuff for me with my equipment, but he just bought a bunch of new equipment. I found this out over the weekend because I had asked him to make me some shirts for like this my pro camp thing, and he
Mhm.
didn't get them done. And he called me like kind of in a panic, like, "Hey, the guy that he's so a mutual friend of ours, well, a friend of mine that he's become friends with, like kind of allocated. He owns a tattoo shop and a barber shop. It's like a 3-stall like building. And in the middle, he didn't have anything in there. And so he was like, hey, if you put your screen printing stuff in the middle portion of my building, like your cousin can use it. Just let me use it, until I get on my feet and figure out what to get. And then I'm going to buy a bunch of new stuff that's like higher volume. Well, last week, at the beginning of the week, unbeknownst to my cousin, my buddy came in and he bought all new stuff. So all the old stuff was gone. It was all packed away. So my cousin is now frantically trying to like get all the new screen printing equipment dialed and figure it out and everything. And so he actually wasn't able to get my stuff done. And so I'm kind of like, we were talking about doing stuff for you, and I'm trying to like think, are t-shirts really, important for me right now or not? Like I
Probably
don't think
not.
that I'm too worried about it. I mean, if he gets everything dialed in and he's like, hey, it's no problem, then I'm all,
Mhm.
I'll for sure bring some stuff. But yeah, I mean, things that you want to consider too ahead of time, because you may not have like access to, if you're going to do lottos, you probably want to print out sheets, that have room for names and phone numbers. You might want to bring some stuff to present your knives on the table, whether it be like little microfiber cloths or like you have them all laid out in a pouch. And you're going to want to have some way to display price. That's always seems to be the thing that I forget, and I end up just tearing up little pieces of paper and writing like the knife and like the price on it, like all ghetto,
Yeah.
which I don't like. So that's actually something I have to figure out is how I want to present that information on the table. I mean, I know a
Mhm.
lot of people have little shadow boxes that they put their knives in, or little, velvet or suede covered shelves that they kind of put them out on. I'm not too worried about any of that stuff. I'm not going to have a million knives. I'm probably, like I said, only going to have 6. And so it's easier for me. But yeah, beyond that, I'm not really planning on bringing much. Did you have any ideas for stuff that you wanted to bring? I mean, obviously business cards are a good idea.
Yeah, cards would be cool. I don't have any cards anymore. I chucked all my old ones because it was like old contact info. So I need to
Yep.
get some more, but probably not going to get any for the show just because it's so easy to just get a hold of me if Instagram or whatever. Um, so yeah, I was mainly thinking like if like bringing a card reader or something to process payments, uh, just so transactions are real easy and streamlined, receipts,
I
kind of
just hate
things like
that. I
that.
hate
But
those fees, dude. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
the fees, and then honestly, the accountability to the money. I have enough money
mm,
that goes into my business bank account every year that I'm claiming.
yeah,
That like
totally.
if I could have 10 grand or 15 grand, like that is just play money that I don't have to fucking pay 20% on. Like,
Yeah, that would be
and
ideal for
so,
sure.
some of those places don't care. I don't know how like Square handles it, but like, PayPal, if it's over $600, goods and services, you're getting a 1099,
Yeah.
you know? And so I would probably like to avoid that if at all
Mhm.
costs. But I mean, if ease of transaction is more important to you than like financial accountability to the government, then just go buy your $20 Square reader and be done with it.
Right. Yeah, because I was even thinking of even possibly setting up all the items on my Shopify, and then if anybody comes up to table, iPad, they could just check out basically real easy, process however payment option they want that way, or pay cash or whatever. But I think if most guys are just doing that helicopter on my
Yeah.
helicopter, we're like right under a flight path.
Oh, nice.
For most like military stuff, seems like it's going San Diego north. Um, yeah, I mean, if a lot of guys are gonna just normally do cash or Zelle or any of those, like I'm totally fine with that too. Um, especially being the first show. I mean, I'm hoping that I sell everything. That would be cool, but I mean, it's hard to tell how many people actually are even looking at my stuff or
Dude, it's
following along. It's
the
so
thing,
difficult
man, for
now on
sure.
Instagram. So
I think you have, especially at a show like this, enough people that are aware that you probably will sell everything. But at the same time, like, you can always take comfort in the fact that if you don't, like, you're just a click away on the computer from just selling everything. You know what I mean? So it's
exactly. Yeah.
Not a big deal. And in some ways, like in Portland, my stuff sold out in like 20 minutes. So it was like, I didn't even have anything on the table for people to play with for the rest of the show. And like, that's where I was like, man, if I would have lotteried them and pulled at the end of the show, then people would have been able to get their hands on the knives. And like, I would have had, I would have had some examples of my work for people to play with.
I want to have at least one that I don't sell, whether it's mine or whatever, that people can play. So.
It can be mine. Don't worry. They can play with mine for the whole show, and then I'll leave with it at the end of the show.
There you go. Yeah. Alex hit me up, actually. He's like, hey, dude, thanks for all your help, man. You helped me out so much on my Speedio. And like, he sent me a video of one of his knives. I'm like, fuck, dude. So.
Oh, he's giving it to you?
Yeah, he's going to give me one. Yeah, it was cool.
Damn, that's fire, dude.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm curious. I mean, these shows are always interesting because you see videos and pictures of all these knives, but until you get them in hand and you can feel the ergonomics and the softening and like the weight distribution and the action and the lock release, like until you can get a feel for those things, like you don't really know how a knife is. And I think that works like a two-way street. One, it may show you gaping holes in your own process and your own finished product. And at the same time, sometimes I've been able to experience a knife where I'm like, that was really hyped up and pretty disappointing in person. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, so I'm excited to be able to get hands on some of these guys' stuff that I see all the time and just kind of put a knife to the face and see if they live up to the hype. But and because I feel that way, I just assume that other people are vetting me also. So it like pushes me,
of course,
to like always do my absolute best and like make sure that everything that I'm presenting is like premium quality, which is why like I think about these guys that are bringing a bunch of knives. That'd be so stressful, dude, because you'd have like so many knives to get dialed in, and like there's gonna be like a lemon in there or one or two or five that like develop lock stick for no reason or whatever the case may be. And like that's the one nice thing about driving is like that I'm gonna be putting some shit in my truck. I'm gonna load my sharpener up. I'm gonna load up like my arbor press or whatever the things are that I need so that I can be like, if absolutely necessary, like I can do some surgery out in the truck or in the hotel room, or if somebody needs something cleaned up, it's like, oh yeah, I got you. I brought everything but the kitchen sink,
I'll bring my little Shurlines in my Pelican.
Yeah, there you go. Shurlines in. But on that note, actually, if you find yourself, I don't know what your plan is for this, but if you find yourself ahead of schedule and you had the balls to ship your knives out, I'd be more than willing to sharpen them for you.
Nice.
And that way you wouldn't have to check a bag then, because then I could just drive them in with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be rad.
Up to you. If you find yourself in that position, you may very well be like sitting there with a fucking Lansky 2 days before and like, sharpening.
That's what I'm worried about. Yeah, I know, because I mean I've got my belt grinder, but I don't have any belts. I have like one old beat up belt that I got from PJ a while ago, and so
yeah,
I definitely
honestly,
I got to get a sharpening setup because I literally have nothing to sharpen right now, and I used my little 1x30 to grind lock faces before. I just dedicated that with a real nice belt and set the platen angle and everything, and like I would just grind lock faces with that. But I don't want to do it on these. So
your move is probably to shoot Yoni a message and be like, hey, can I come down for half a day and just I sharpen my shit on your setup because he has such a dialed sharpening setup. I mean, fuck, he sharpens hundreds of knives a month. You know what I mean?
Totally.
But yeah, sharpening is always my least favorite. I think it's probably everybody's least favorite thing. You know,
I'm definitely not looking forward to it. Let me close this window real quick. Hold up.
Yeah, do your thing. No problem.
I think all this sound suppression stuff in here will cut it out, but it's actually getting really loud.
It'll be a good test. Oh, anyways, folks. Yeah, Ken's pretty cool, you know. Works hard, good dad. Example human, model citizen. Hey, what's up?
Pick like the noisiest day out of the week, I feel like, to record. I bet my gardener is going to show up any minute.
You have a gardener? Dang, must be nice.
We rent, so yeah, the owner has
fair
all
enough.
that stuff. So yeah.
You don't have to mow your own dang lawn, dude.
I wish.
I got my kids doing it now. But yeah,
nice.
Sharpening, I definitely dread it, you know. One, it's like, is the clamp going to scuff the blade? You know, there's just so many little things, like, am I going to scuff the blade finish because there's like some grit on there when I go to wipe the black, you know, stropping compound off after I hit it with the leather belt, you know.
You're going to run up the sharpening choil and hit the plunge.
Yeah. Am I going to cut? You know, now it's sharp. Am I going to cut myself when I'm dicking around with it? You know, so.
Yeah, I always worry. Go ahead.
If I could deliver these things dull, I would, I think.
Oh, dude, I would totally. I remember there was a knife maker years ago. I don't know if he still does it. That would ship all of his shit not sharpened because of some legal reasons. Like, it wasn't legally allowed to make knives or something in the country that he lives in. So he just shipped all his shit with no edge on it.
Good luck sharpening it yourself.
Yeah, it was something like that.
I want to move to that country.
Yeah, same. But yeah, sharpening sucks. My issue with sharpening is I always feel like it's never sharp enough. So because I think like, all right, somebody's going to get this and their first thing they're going to do is they're going to stick this on their arm. Oh, it's not sharp, you know, or whatever. So I'm like very self-conscious about,
dude,
if it's actually sharp enough.
That's the first thing I notice. I notice on a guy's work is if that thing ain't popping hairs, you didn't do your job, you know? And like, a knife can look sharp. There's a difference between looking sharp and being sharp. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And like, there's a difference between being hair popping sharp and being sharp enough to cut something. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if they're hair popping sharp, 98% of the time, they're not that way within like 5 minutes of using them. You know, like it just knocks that like razor edge off of there, and it's still plenty sharp enough to do anything you need to do. But, in my opinion, I wanted to start late, like a laser, you know?
For sure. I went one time, back when Paula was around, we went to Home Depot right there by the shop. We just would walk over there all the time, grab tools, whatever. And there was a guy working in the tool crib area, and he's like, "Oh, what are you guys up to?" And, you know, of course, he pulls his knife out, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, we make these knives. I need to get some sandpaper, whatever." And he's like, "Oh, let me see it." And he grabs it and just straight to his arm, and he went to cut, just see if he could shave his hair, and he sliced his arm open like bad. Just filleted his arm open. And he was an older dude, and he just kind of like took it, he wiped it, handed it back, and then he just folded his shirt down. And then he's like, "All right, see you guys later." And he walked away, and it was just blood was coming all the way down his arm, dude. God. Literally from like his bicep area or tricep all the way down to his wrist. There's just blood running through his shirt. And he was just acting like nothing happened. Yeah. Yeah, it was the weirdest thing, man.
And he cut the fuck out of himself.
Fucking guy.
Oh, people like, I mean, I'm actually not going to cop to that on the air. I've had some situations where people have gotten cut. It's like, yeah, you feel bad. But,
yeah, I got cut one time. It was a knife meet that we did, and some guy had a Spyderco, and I flicked it, you know, and it popped out, and it just stabbed my finger somehow. And it just started bleeding all over the place. And like, just hand under the table, like, I'm good.
Yep, I'm fine.
Blood fucking dripping out on the carpet.
You ever have that happen when you're not paying attention to both your hands and like you fire the knife with one hand and the tip swings out and hits your other hand and just like glances you and cuts you when you're opening the knife? Yeah, I've fucking done that a bunch, or you're just not paying it. Or like you know, because like you get used to flipping one knife length, right? Like say it's the transient, and then somebody has a 3.7-inch bladed knife, and you're used to having the same clearance between your hands, but that half-inch difference is like enough to like, whatever. Stupid
I usually get it. If anything, I usually get cut when I'm messing with this Bally because it's double-edged. And then sometimes is the lock on this side or is the lock on this side? and I'll forget and I'll swing it, and it's, edge right in my finger. So I usually get my
Dude, no
knuckles with this
thanks.
thing.
I don't play that.
I don't play
I would
with it
cut
that
the
much
hell out
anymore.
of myself with that.
That's fucking sharp too.
So yeah, what's your plan for this week? Where like your last week you kind of got your fixture dialed in and started to think about what you wanted to do, but like what do you have going on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of this week?
Yeah, so main fixturing is all complete. The only other stuff that I need to do is soft jaws, and I'll just do them as I need them. I don't want to cut them and take them out and then put them back for obvious reasons. So I'm going to try and knock out some more of these inlays today. We're actually Hudson's staying at school late now. There's like an after school program, so he's staying for a couple hours extra. And he's got our neighbor kid stays, and he's making friends already. So cool. So he does that. It gives me a little bit more time out here. But today we're going to pick him up like around 3:00 and head to Disneyland for the rest of the day. We haven't been in a while, so taking up quite a bit more time, but I think it'll be worth it. So we're going to do that today, but I'm going to, after this, so once we get done recording, I'm actually going to do my first like official kind of one-on-one class with somebody. Okay. It's a guy from Instagram who's getting in the knives. He's got a Tormach, and he sent me a DM. I think he was listening to the podcast, but he heard about it, and he's like, hey, I want to start doing blades and stand them up. Can you walk me through some stuff and help me with CAD and CAM? And so we had a few messages back and forth, and then yesterday he's like, yeah, let me know how to pay, whatever. So he shot it over, and we're going to jump on today for an hour and go through some of that stuff. So I want to try and start ramping that stuff up. I'm going to probably do it on here too. Just the same platform, and send him a link. And then I can screen share with him. He's using Fusion too. So we'll go through the whole thing. He already sent me his model. So I'm going to basically just go through that. I haven't like prepped for it at all. I opened it up and looked at it, and it's pretty straightforward. So it should be pretty straightforward with that. And then, easy to get going without like doing your hollow grind the other day. That was like a lot of back and forth.
Sorry.
Stuff. No, it was all good. I still kind of want to mess with it a little bit more, but I know you already shot it over. So if they have any issues, though, I'm sure we'll hear from them. So
yeah, I mean, I mainly just needed it for like quoting purposes. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I wanted them to see the exact geometry ish. So that they could get me an accurate number on what they were looking at for that stuff. But,
it's really close. If anything, I mean, the only reason why, because you have that climbing kind of top of your primary, that's typically horizontal when you're grinding, right? Because you're going straight across on that.
I tip it on an angle so that it's straight across.
Exactly. The way I modeled it was straight at the beginning of the edge. So the actual wheel would have to grind up. Just like how you would normally do it. You'd actually be rotating to get it to climb, but same kind of thing. I need to just remodel it where it's all basically tied to the top, perpendicular to the top rather than to the bottom. So
gotcha. I think a lot of it too is like once they can see the aesthetic, they're acutely aware of what geometry they can grind. So I think it's more or less, even if they had to go in there, remove the bevels, but they knew what the plunge aesthetic was and the height of the grind was. And if they had to remodel it so that it worked for what they do, at least they have a visual reference for that, or a measurable one anyways, if they copied it.
Yeah, all the criticals are good on that. It's a consistent edge thickness all the way up from the sharpening choil all the way to the tip. That was the main concern, because that's one thing that I always think about when guys just do straight grinds like that. You're having a variable thickness edge. It's way thicker at the belly, because your hollow is actually coming back up. Yeah. And then thinner at the tip and thinner at the beginning. So getting that to model correctly,
you certainly have to manipulate
it followed that. Mm-hmm. But it was cool though. So this one is going to be pretty straightforward. It's a pretty standard blade shape. So we're going to go over that after this. And then once that's done, I'm going to try and run some more inlays. It's just, these things take so long on the Haas. Like this should be like 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes max on a Speedio. Mainly because there's so much detail in the engraving. Like I'm surfacing the floor with the engraving tool. It's a 10 or 20 thou radius. I end up hand stoning the radius on those as they wear. So it varies. But I'm having issues. Of course, I jinxed myself when we were talking about, as long as my stupid phase converter doesn't go out. I don't know if my caps are going out, the capacitors or what. But if I run the machine, I always had issues running the machine at 100% rapid. If I'm ramping anything over like 5,500 RPM, 6,000, 7,500 for sure, definitely 8,100. Where from what it sounds like, it's the solenoid for the door locks fires, just repeatedly fires until it gets up to max RPM or programmed RPM, and then it's totally fine. Once that's up, then I can wrap it at 100%, no issues. But if it's ramping the spindle and it's moving the table and the Z all at the same time, it's sucking way too much juice. And it fires that
voltage alarm.
I'm getting low voltage alarms. And then 2 weeks ago, it started shutting the machine off. So I basically dropped all my RPMs down to cap at 5,000. And then I'm just running my rapids at 25%, which isn't a huge difference on this from 25 to 50 or 50 to 100. But when you're making a couple hundred parts, it adds up. So, and I'm not palletizing these because I want to basically just run a couple hundred of these things and be done for the year.
Yep.
At least on this run, I don't want to mess too much with making a big pallet and spending all the time on that and all the costs for Mighty Bite stuff. I'm just holding op one in talons, just straight down in talons. The materials are moved. I'm just using that stool now. It's just holding in talons, and then I flip in soft jaws, and then I do this second side. So, but it ends up being like 8 minutes on the Hodge just because the machine's so slow. So sweet spot for RPM on here is 5,000 anyways. If I run any higher RPM, I get some weird harmonics with it. And I tend to see some feed lines and I see weird finishes on stuff, especially if I'm doing like tall wall finishes. 5,000 RPM, doesn't matter what diameter tool, from like 20 to 25 inches a minute, and it leaves a perfect finish on everything. So
interesting.
It's a weird sweet spot where it's like, fuck it works perfect. I'm just going to finish everything at that. So I'm not getting any alarms anymore. It's not shutting off. It's running fine. So I'm basically going to try and run a bunch more of these today, and then maybe whatever I can do tomorrow. And then Friday, I have to jump on frames on Friday. So I think I'm going to do the inside of the frames, probably start on the show side, because there's no real geometry inside that's doing anything with the lock or anything. So just knock all those out and then dial in the pockets and all the surfacing tool paths and everything. And then once that's done, maybe make the soft jaws, but I might do op one, op two and soft jaws because I'll be done with inlays. So then I can just recut those soft jaws to hold the inside of the frame.
Sure.
So I'm going to be doing internal stuff on the frame first, do all the internal geometry, profiles, pivot hole, stop pin hole, pocketing and all the surfacing inside, and then the bearing pockets, and then flipping over, holding that whole thing in soft jaws and just surfacing the outside and doing the pivot counterbores and chamfers. So I think that should be the move going
sounds
next.
Reasonable to me.
Next, yeah. Because once I get the frames done on that, if I cut frames and I cut the lock bar inserts before I do the blades, then I can just dial in the compensation on the blades and I can check fit and everything as I'm doing them.
No, certainly.
It's either that or I wait for the lock bars and do the lock bars last. So cut all the blades, do all that stuff, and then do the lock bars at the very end. I just don't want to run into an issue where it's like, shit, I need to move the detent ball a little bit for something, and then I can see the detent track when the blade's open. So, which I definitely don't want to see. That's like trying to mitigate as much risk.
Big pet peeve. I mean, do you not have much room there? Like if you're looking at it in CAD, is it pretty close?
It's pretty close. It gets real close if I flatten the detent ball, especially. So I'm still on the fence if I need to flatten it or not. I don't care for the feel either way on it. The main thing is that I might need a little bit extra room by flattening it a little bit because that wall thickness that I showed you in that screen share, you can't, I mean, it's not going to be on this because this is an actual frame lock, but the wall thickness in this area is so thin for that lock bar. I don't have a lot of room to have like an over travel area to get the detent ball way away from the blade when you unlock.
Gotcha.
And you obviously don't want it to just move where the top of the ball is flush with the blade because then it's going to drag with compression.
So you don't have any room to clear behind the lock bar for it to over travel.
Exactly, unless I make the lock bar really thin. I mean, I could make it super thin, like 30 thou thick or so in that area, so it'll flex out of the way. But if
Are you able to manipulate your chamfer sizes on the lead-in areas there to be a little bit smaller?
I could just make this surface here. I could bring this surface out a little bit so this edge is thicker, right in that in the finger area. So I could make that
even if it was only 15 or 20 thousandths, like it'd be negligible. Not negligible. I mean, it's an amount for sure, but I mean, if you even had a 10 thousandths relief behind the ball, if the ball is sticking out 20 or mine usually stick out 21 thousandths. The one problem is you only have a 10 thousandths gap between your blade and your frame.
Right.
So you already need 10 thousandths relief. You
exactly.
need at
So
least
that's why I
10
was thinking
thousandths
of,
relief, and then more than that. So you probably need at least 15.
yeah. So that's why I was thinking if I flatten the top of the ball, then I'll get whatever room there. Um, because the tip of the ball is not doing any engagement anyways. So that's the thing, like pressing a detent ball, the depth of it really isn't that critical because you're at the steepest part of the radius anyways. So you just need it enough to stay in and
Yeah.
not be too deep to where you're too shallow on the ball. So I
What's weird
usually
is I
just,
have found that even a few thousandths difference can make a pretty big difference in how the action feels.
yeah.
I don't really know why that is, because like you said, it shouldn't really matter. It depends on the size of the ball. Obviously, if you're using a 2 millimeter ball with a bigger radius, like it's a lot more forgiving than if it's a 16th. It's a tighter radius. But
Yeah. Because I want to have
have
the
you?
detents as strong as possible to where the frame's almost touching the blade when it's in the closed position.
Yeah.
And then I usually just use a PB washer, like a 20 thou thick PB washer with a 16th ball. Um, and then I just basically I stick the PB washer around the detent hole. I drop the ball in there and I just press it with the arbor. I'll stick like
Yep.
a razor blade or something on top and just press it to that. And it's extremely consistent. I don't want to do it before I do any finishing. Like setting a detent ball, I think should be like one of the very last things after finishing and blasting and tumbling and all that stuff. So,
See, yeah, I do it beforehand because
oh yeah,
I mean, I want to be able to test the action in all stages
that's
of
true. Yeah.
the product. So literally setting the detent is the first thing I do.
Oh yeah.
Detent, lock face, blade grind, and then I usually have to tweak the lock face and the lock bar pressure, because when the blade is ground, being significantly lighter, the tension that you need to get the action right, is a lot less. But then you need to make sure that it's enough tension to make sure that the lock engages fully, because you obviously don't want to have lock rock or lack of lock bar engagement. That's a fine line on my design specifically. Like, I know a lot of people don't have to deal with it, but my shit has to be just right, or the action does not feel right on this knife. So
Yeah, your blades get so thin. There's not a lot of weight out the tip or anything. So
there's nothing, man. It's definitely a lot.
are you carbonizing your lock faces?
Yeah, always.
You do?
I heat
And
them. I heat them first. When I heat the lock bar relief, I also heat the lock face. Let them both air cool, just to kind of like harden the titanium a little bit, harden it. And then I carbonize after that.
And then you're setting your ball.
Yeah, I do the ball after that. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, because that was the main issue. Because I've carbonized lock faces before, and I've done heat on there. And if the ball's already in there, it'll pop the ball out or crack it. For ceramic balls, I've had issues where the balls will come out or they'll crack in half.
Interesting.
And I've done a lot of detent holes that are blind. So now you got a fucking a ceramic detent ball stuck in a blind hole, and so you got to get in there and smash it out or whatever. And then now your hole's kind of messed up. So you got to peen the hole and then press another ball.
I love that idea. I think it looks clean.
Mm-hmm.
But for the utility side of knives,
it's annoying.
It's not nowhere near consistent enough for me to give a shit if that little hole is exposed or not. You know what I mean? I'd much rather have access to the backside.
For sure. And that was another reason too, wanting to go with an inset lock too, because then you don't have to worry about it. You just do a through hole in the bar and then
through hole,
pop it out.
That's going to be. Oh wait, you're not drilling your detents. You don't have to worry about that. How much are you offsetting your detent, the hole in your blade compared to your frame, to get like the offset that you want for like the ball to hold the blade without rattling?
It depends on what the drill size is. Obviously the bigger the drill is, the further you have to offset it. So I don't have a lot of room. I think I can go like one size up from a 16th on the drill hole. I'm going to probably just mill it with a 16th and then actually slot it a little bit. So there's some room I'm going to probably, where's the blade at? I'll start inside the lock, in the stop pin track, and basically just slot over until there's basically a slot connecting to it, rather than just drilling a straight hole. And then you don't get any crap that sticks in there, like in the actual hole. You can't really pack anything in there. There's no reason to go all the way through. So it'll just be a small slot from the stop pin track into the location of the detent, and I'll do it with a 16th end mill and probably make it like 65 or 70 thou wide or whatever, just enough for the ball to fit in there. And then if I do need to do any fitting, just progressively taking it out of the engagement side and leaving it as sharp as possible. Maybe stoning a very, very small just edge break so it doesn't actually cut into the ball at all. So, but I've had issues where I've even had to drill them like 75, 80, 90 thou big on some to get it because they were started way too far over. You got to
Yeah, so
move
you're
them.
just waiting. You're trying to get that leading edge just to catch the edge of the ball.
Yeah. So the
Yeah,
rest of it
I've
is all
done
just
that.
clearance anyways, so.
Yep, yeah, with that one edge to catch.
Mm.
I know people, before in more archaic times of making would just almost put the detent when they were trying to set their detent. They would just put their detent ball in, close their blade, make the witness mark, and then go to the end of the track and just drill like a 50 thousandths hole, see if it catches. Go to 55, see if it catches. Go to 59 and a half, see if it catches, and just keep opening it up a wire size at a time until their detent was appropriate.
That's how I started. A lot of the
it
first
works,
folders that I did was the same shit. Yeah. Or you
little
put a
ghetto,
smaller
but
stop pin in. You put a stop pin in that's a couple thou smaller, and then you can close it further, and then you just drill through your detent hole with no ball. You got to space out your lock bar if your lock bar is already bent, but then you just drill through right there, and then you put the bigger pin in there, and then it's all set.
that's what I do.
I don't
now.
want to deal with that stuff. Yeah. I don't want to deal with any of that stuff anymore.
I use a 122 pin, so it's like 1.5 thou per side. And that seems to work perfectly for what I do. Rather than you see people that put like a can't twist clamp on there or pinch it, and it's like there's no consistency with that.
You're just smashing the blade closed, yeah.
Yeah, you're just fucking up the end of the stop pin track or flexing the stop pin or rounding out the holes in the frame with pressure. It's like, just use a smaller stop pin. Works great.
Yeah, it works out really well. So, yeah, all my fixture stuff is done. The blade fixture obviously is finished. The check fixture is done for that. Now it's really just making sure I can get enough stuff in the machine and just start making some progress on whatever I can.
Nice, man. That sounds like an awesome plan. I mean,
it's kind of up in the air right now.
Yeah,
I usually work however I feel.
Yeah, you'll have some more clarity in the coming days. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you'd like to have. Oh, sorry, yawn master. You'd like to have a set of frames or multiple sets of frames done by the end of the weekend so that you can at least run those off, and then you have a solid what that'll be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the 27th. So you'll have a solid 2.5 weeks to button everything up. Man, when you put it that way,
there's not much time, dude. There's not a lot of time left.
No.
Yeah. As soon as it hit the 17th of this month, I was like, all right, cool. We got a month left. And then now it's already
3 weeks.
The 20. Yeah. Now it's the 23rd already. I'm like, dude, what have I been doing? So
yeah, you got to put the foot down with the wife and like, okay, we're going to Disneyland, but after that, the next 2.5 weeks, those are mine. Leave me alone. Yeah. You're on double kid duty. I'm working late nights. I'm working early mornings. You got to get the kids to school. I'm in grind mode and let it be what it is.
That's a nice thing about taking Hudson to school in the morning, though. It forces me to get up and out of the house by 7:00. So I'm already out. Man. I'm back at the house by 7:30, and I've already had coffee and eaten, and I'm ready to go. So
perfect, man.
So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to lay out the rest of my materials today and try and finish up this custom that I'm working on. I might not even turn the machines on today. I might just handle logistics and respond to emails and order some stuff and then plan on just first thing in the morning tomorrow getting out here on a normal work day and just hammering it.
Nice.
But yeah. I mean, it sounds like we got a good plan ahead, man. We already hit a 1 hour mark. This stuff just peels off. Every week I feel like it's going to take longer and longer and longer. And every week it's like, even this week we had like less directive even than we have in past weeks. And like, yet we still peeled off an hour. So
yeah, I don't think there was too much to talk about today. I mean, because we've both been busy, but with outside of the shop stuff, it seems like.
Yeah, we've both been fucking off for the last week and we didn't have much to share yet. Somehow we flapped our gums for an hour. So hopefully next week we have a lot more to say. We've made some progress and we can start really getting into it. But
yeah, for sure. I'm hoping.
Yeah, appreciate everybody listening today. Appreciate you, being flexible with this. And I'm looking forward to kicking ass for the rest of the week and touching base with you in the days to come.
For sure, man. That sounds good, dude.
Cool, man.
All right.
Well, good talking to you. I'll catch up with you later, buddy.
Yeah, you too. Later.
Peace.